All right, so welcome back to the Jason Pili Project. We're super excited for today's guest, Jared Graybeal. Hey, Jared, how you doing?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Really excited to have you on the show today, man. You're down there in Miami, living a good life right here, some great weather, and we're super excited for you and your journey. And you are just out there reaching fitness goals, helping others achieve that. You have a self-help book out right now outlining the 6 practical tools to stretch readers to a level of discomfort and allow you to stay in a constant season of growth. What really set out that, you know what, I need to put this book out there because there's people that this can help? What was it about this book that really got you putting your thoughts down on paper?
Yeah, great question, Jason. So originally the book was a blog, and I have a podcast and I have a blog site. And typically what I'll do is if I like a blog that I write, I'll record it onto my podcast. But normally those are 10 to 15 minute teachings, very practical, applicable. You can take it away on your drive to work. But I kind of got in the zone on this one and ended up writing, I don't know, like an 8,000 word blog on 6 practical ways to never stop growing. And once I finished the blog and looked back at it and realized this is way too long for my typical MO, it's far from the status quo of my blogs and my podcasts. What if, and I left a lot out. So I thought, what if I revisit this, kind of start from scratch, use this structure and this outline and invest more time into it. And what if I make this a book? And so I'm really not much of I don't sit and think about much. I often act on what I believe to be good ideas. And so I thought, you know what, this would be my first book. And I thought the practical steps in this, what was a blog, what now is a book, are so easy to apply in life that it could help a lot of people if I publish it as a book versus just putting it on my blog site. And so I just kind of followed the steps. I revisited it. I finished the manuscript in a couple more months, pursued a publisher, and here we are.
That's awesome, man. So many of us, we have good ideas, at least to ourselves, right? When we don't act. What is it that enables you in your mind to say, I act on good ideas? Was this always who you were, or was there some part where you said, you know what, I'm just sitting there waiting for something to happen. I'm going to start acting on what I believe in?
Yeah, it is always who I've been. So we grew up extremely underprivileged. And so it was me, my older brother, and my dad for the majority of my childhood. And we didn't really have anything. If we wanted, early on, one of the lessons my dad taught me is if I want anything other than the bare necessities, I have to get it myself. And I mean like a nice pair of shoes. Like once a year, my grandparents would take us shopping to Payless and Walmart for like one outfit and one pair of shoes, Mm-hmm. We didn't get the privilege of like fitting in. And so early on, my ambition was really just to fit in with the other kids. I didn't even fit in with the poor kids, like they still had a pair of Reeboks in 5th grade and we didn't have anything. So early on, it was like, if I want this, I have to get it. So it wasn't waiting around. So I've never been good at waiting around. And so growing into my adult life, it was like, okay, well, I want a relative level of success and, oh, no one's going to give that to me. I need to go get it. And so as I grew in my entrepreneur journey, it was like, I have this idea. And I knew early on that it doesn't matter what idea I have, nobody's going to give me anything. And certainly most people aren't going to help me with this. So I need to go do it. And, coming from nothing, at least in terms of Western culture, I never had anything to lose. And I still kind of have that perspective. So with me, it's like, some people are like, oh, I don't want to publish a book. Who am I to write a book? And it's like, I still feel that way. I'm just going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is for me. I try a lot of things and I probably try harder than most people. And that's really the thing is like, man, I'm an action guy and that makes me feel good. So really I'm looking for a good feeling. And I always get that from trying.
It's that common notion, you're either running from pain or running to pleasure, right? And so it's that point here where so many people, they ask for help, right? Instead of going out there and seeking help or going out there and pushing it. And you said, in a part, extremely underprivileged, right? And a lot of people out there are, but they don't make a mental choice that I want to be successful. I'm going to take action on it. What is an actual step that someone who's sitting there today just saying, I feel like I don't have anything and no one's here to help me. How can they pivot their mind to change the mentality to saying it doesn't matter because I'm going to find success by taking action.
Yeah. It's so basic and it's so simple, but goal setting.
Yeah.
And I go into this in the book, but a lot of people set what they believe to be goals, but it's not actually truly a goal unless you've got a plan and you act on that plan. Otherwise, it's just a dream or a thought, right? If you haven't put into play the steps towards reaching a goal, then it's not actually a goal. If you look at the definition, that's basically how it's defined. And so the problem with most people is that one, we either don't set goals, but two, when we do, we suck at it. Somebody might say, I want to be a movie star. And it's like, okay, have you ever acted before? Did you take any drama classes? No? Then you might not start there. Your goal should be, I'm going to sign up for drama class. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, long term, this big, hairy, audacious goal might be to be a movie star, just like it might be to be a billionaire. But you shouldn't really set your sights on being a billionaire if you've still got student debt. So you got to set, smart goals, which I outline in the book, and you can find anywhere online. Specific, right? So it has to be a specific goal. So instead of like, I'm going to be more present, what does that mean? Right? Like, okay, or you want to spend 10 minutes a day meditating? That's specific.
Yeah.
Measurable. Again, back to the 10 minutes, right? Instead of just quote unquote being present, you can't look back on your week and say, man, I was really present this week. Like, there's no way to define that. So you did or didn't meditate for 10 minutes. Attainable, right? Is it real? Is it attainable? And then relevant. Is it something that you want to do, or just something that you want to do because your friends are doing it or your family's making you do it, right? Is it relevant to your life, to your interests? And then is it time-based? When will you accomplish this goal? It doesn't have to be today. Is it this week? Is it this year? You might want to lose 100 pounds in the next 2 years, right? But it has to be time-based. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And then you do it, right? You take the first step, whatever that looks like.
You think about it from a point of goals, and that's where I think there's some part of like 90 or 92% of New Year's resolutions fail, right? Because they're not smart, they're not targeted, they're not measurable, right? And in life, what measured and tracked gets achieved, right? Because if we put out a lofty goal, our minds aren't ready to it, because it's like, I want to climb Mount Everest, right? And you're like, well, it's too scary, even though it could be awesome. But all I can think about is like how scary it would be just to get to the top. But if I think about like that first step, like maybe I just have to find good boots and maybe a tour guide, right? And that could be like a targeted step. And like, at least it starts to like create wins in your day, or like wins in your mind. And we forget in life, because we focus on so much of the negativity, right? That we forget that we have to accumulate wins, and it could be so small, right? We've heard the story of, the general just making his bed every day, because that's like creating a successful win in this day. How have you used this to build successful companies like Superfit Foods? What was it in your intentional action taking, smart goal settings that built a company like Superfit Foods?
Again, I mean, for me, it was like, when we first started the company, in the back of my mind, it's like, yeah, of course I want to build this big, great, successful company. But it was just like, let's get 10 clients. I wonder if we can get 25 clients, right? And then once we get that, it's like, let's get 50 clients. Once we got 50 clients, it's like, maybe let's go from 8 to 10 menu items. Let's go from 10 to 12 menu items. Okay, now we've got 12 menu items. Let's come out with breakfast. It was baby steps along the way. And then once I developed a relative level of business acumen and some confidence in running that company, it was like, okay, we did 500 grand our first year. We did pretty well. Let's do $1 million the second year. And let's leverage this momentum. Let's find a head chef, right? And so like, I didn't start the business with like this know-all mentality of like, year one, we're going to do X, year two, we're going to do Y. By year 5, we're going to have multi-million-dollar revenue and 30 locations. Now that is good if you're developing a business plan, but I didn't get my mind wrapped around year 3, 4, or 5, because it was like, what do we need to do in the day-to-day to run an exceptional company? And that was it. Like I'm a 5-year day one guy, right? So I'm like, I can think about 5 years from now, but then my main focus is like, all right, that's cool, but I don't get focused on that, because it's like, what do I need to do today? And I think a lot of people get caught up in this long term, because it's cool to live that far in the future because you're not held accountable to your daily actions.
I love that.
And so for me, I'm like, okay, that's really, really cool. 5 years from now,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I want, but I'm willing to change all that based off the next 1 year. But what do I need to do today? And I just
Yeah.
get grounded on the daily activities required to accomplish these big goals.
Yeah, you can dream, you can visualize, but you have to do, right. And it's well said, right? 5 years, it's easy, right? It's easy to say, yeah, I want to be this, but then you can lose track of that each and every day as you get 5 years ahead, because you're not really focusing on what needs to be done here and now. And with companies, right, they can be unforgiving just to start, right? Because it's like there's no trajectory, there's no like fit, like, oh, here's the game plan for starting a company, just do this, right, and you will have a successful company, right? Because everybody would just have that. You just say, okay, like even parenting, right? I probably got a little guy screaming out there that you can hear, one of three. And if there was that, this is how you parent, everybody would be the magical parent, right? But a lot of it is just, trial and error. What was it like getting that first client? Because ultimately, you get to 10, right? And those first 10 are probably harder than the first 200, right? Because they're ultimately taking a chance on you, right? On you and your story more than they are on the product. What was it like getting that first client?
Yeah, I think, honestly, that experience was different for me than most people. Getting the first 10 clients was like that. But I was set up for it. So, prior to starting Superfit Foods, I'll back up a little bit. I had been in the fitness industry for my whole adult life, and which was 7, 8 years at this point. I had left LA Fitness, which I was a GM at for a couple of years, to go back to Lakeland, which is where I'm from, Lakeland, Florida,
Yep.
to start a small gym and like a training gym. I wanted to franchise this model out. I had an investor lined up. And the weekend that I moved back to Lakeland, which was about 2 days prior to starting construction on this unit, the investor called me and backed out. So I had to basically ex-nay my whole plans. I had this 12-page business plan. And so I started training one-on-one at a local Gold's Gym, basically started from scratch. Now, when it comes to fitness stuff, I can sell anything. I'm a great salesperson in general, but if I believe in the product or the service, I'm an exceptional salesperson. So within a month, I was fully booked as a trainer. And that's when I met my to-be partner, which was to be my non-partner later on down the road. But and he inspired the idea for starting a meal prep company. And I took that and created Superfit Foods. And so in doing that, when he presented, I don't want to say presented the idea, whenever he just we were getting coffee and he's like, what about a meal prep company? And I thought, yeah, I mean, I can sell that. I've got 40 training clients that see me every week. I'm sure half of them would probably sign up. And that was the inspiration, was like most of them, I gave them these diet plans, or, in Florida, we call them diet recommendations. And they were like, Jared, if you just cook this for me, I'd eat it. And then when the thought crossed my mind for a meal prep company, I was like, well, I've already got people that'll sign up. And so within a week, we had 10 clients. Within another couple of weeks, we had 20, 25. So the early stages was very confidence boosting, is very encouraging. And that developed a lot of momentum in me because, for a lot of entrepreneurs, they get this great idea and maybe they build a solid action plan and then they act on it. And you get one client for the first week, and then 2 clients the second week, and then 3 clients the third week. And you're like, this really didn't go the way that I thought. That wasn't what it was like for us. We hit the ground running, and more or less our problems were the growing pains associated with that.
Yeah. What stands out to me that in my mind is lots of companies are made by an idea, but don't have the basis built yet, because it's a trial and error, where you did what a lot of successful people in business do, is you built one stream where you had a steady flow of people who believed in you, and then built something that could help them get further, right? Because people can show up to you, get the training they need, get the fitness they need, get on their goals, but then maybe they're coming twice a week, and then for the other 164 hours or 66 hours a week, they're on their own, right? And so if you can now say, listen, eating doesn't have to be hard, let me help you along that journey. Well, they already know that you're there working with them each and every week to get them on their goals. When they see you, now they're going to say, okay, I believe in Jared, I believe what he does, so let's see how else he can help me, right? And so you're helping them further to the goals. And when you can stack like that, you walk into a path of progress where you say, okay, cool, this is one after the other there.
Yeah, and I think a lot of luck takes place in the world of entrepreneurs, but luck is a product of hard work. And so this speaks to I would say young, or really any entrepreneurs that are in a stage of life where like maybe this isn't what you want to be doing. I loved training, but I knew that it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. But it doesn't matter. I showed up every day with 100% as a trainer. And then when the idea for Superfit Foods presented itself, people were lining up to sign up because I had given training my everything. So it's like, no matter what you want to do in the future, you've got to do your best now because people are still watching. And so if you start something in the future and everyone's like, well, he didn't really give that last thing his all. And you're like, well, I didn't really love that thing. That doesn't matter to consumers, you know? So I think I lucked out in getting early stage, we'll just say, adoption or whatever of the business model, because people were like, well, Jared crushed the last thing. Why wouldn't he crush this thing?
Yeah. And I would say, you know, it's not lucky at all, right? Because so many people, everybody gets a chance at luck. It just most aren't in a position to be ready for it, right? I hate my job. I'm not going to show up for it. And then a person comes in and would have a great opportunity, but sees you just, you know, sandbagging everything you're doing in the current job, instead of saying, okay, this isn't where I want to be, but I have to show up here to set the way of where I'm going to be when I get to that next opportunity, right? And so you use that, you say, I'm going to show up here, right? And you love what you do. So it's even better, right? But you're showing up for that point and saying, okay, so people understand, right? It's how you show up, and that's how you're going to be. And sometimes, you know, in our world, we buy apartment buildings, and for people who've never bought an apartment building before, they say, well, how can I have, you know, build relationship with investors or other people? Well, it's certain that you have to have a track record of showing up and what else you were doing. It could be, you know, having a dog walking business or working, you know, in a white collar job, or, you know, you name it, right? It could be in any of those capacities, but it has to be how have you showed up in the past, because that's going to be what you are today. And so luck, of course, plays a picture, right? But it shows up. You have to be ready when those opportunities come, because they will come. Everybody has a chance. We're just, most of us, and I, you know, in my earlier days, I've missed out on what deemed, you know, maybe, you know, I could say I was unlucky. No, I was lucky. I just wasn't ready for it, right? I wasn't ready at that time, and, you know, name it, mentally, physically, emotionally, I just wasn't ready. So I missed the opportunity. Unlucky? No, I wasn't prepared when the opportunity shows up. And when you look at your day and say, this is me setting a circumstance for going forward, this is me for preparing for what's next, that's what you get to now build one company into more companies and continue to grow. So yeah, where do you go from here?
Where do I go from here? Well, you know, the goal is obviously to continue to reach more people with Superfit Foods. I mean, I believe that we have an incredibly unique product. We are the only fully customizable subscription-based meal prep company in the nation that I'm aware of. And so we want to expand that reach. We want to help empower others to live happier, healthier lives. We want to fulfill our mission on a larger scale each year, every day. You know, we want to improve our products and our services, but we want to reach more people at the same time.
Can someone get Superfit Foods in every state, or targeted towards Florida, or how far is the reach?
Yeah, we're primarily based out of Northeast Florida, but we ship nationwide.
Awesome.
So it is available everywhere else. And of course, with the book, which is like just another arm or leg of my legacy, my personal mission is to encourage, educate, and empower others to live happier, healthier lives. And so everything I do is really driven by its ability to practically empower people to go on. Like, I want to lead people to water, but I want to teach them how to drink it, and then teach them how to reverse osmosis it to give it to other people, and whatever analogy you want to follow there. But so I'm sure that I'll spend some time this year writing another book, take some of the feedback from the original one and leverage that to maybe write a different but better one. I mean, who knows, right? But I'm in a lifelong pursuit of self-growth in the hopes that it helps other people do the same.
Yeah.
And that's how I personally want to glorify God. So my future is wide, and but specifically, those are the few things that I know that I'll be working on.
That's fantastic, man. Jared, love the story. Love what you're doing. Love where you're going, man. For everyone who wants to find you, of course, Superfit Foods. You can go find his TEDx Talk on nutrition and mental health. Of course, get the book right here, the self-help book, outlining 6 practical tools to stretch readers to the level of discomfort and allow you to stay in a constant season of growth. Anywhere else they should find you, or where's the best way to connect with you and what you're doing?
I'm most active on Instagram at Jared AXL Graybeal. And my personal website's easy to find some information on me, jaredgraybeal.com.
Awesome.
The other.
Jared, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Great story. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for having me.
All right. And everyone listening, you heard it. You are somewhere today, but it doesn't have to be where you end up. Go out there, set smart goals, take action, do what you deserve to be doing. Thank you.